Ah! Got Tootie still on here. Let's take Tootie off. Good afternoon, everybody. Unless you're on the West Coast, in which case, good morning. Let's see. There we go. Bam! There we go. Now we got our regular co-caster coming at you. My good friend Alice, who is, oh, she's right down there. She's right under the desk. Welcome, everybody. So, doing a replay Sunday again. Only have 2 matches today for you. Our first matchup is going to be between Zul'jin Distillery and Censored. And then our next matchup is going to be Full Meta Jacket and Luciodology. So, a little bit different style with the replay reviews. Basically, there's no map bans to watch, to check out. There's no hero bans, no drafting, anything like that. So we basically just get to see the heroes as they are and start the game. So right out of the gate, let's go ahead and get first game between Zul'jin Distillery and Censored going here. And Zul'jin Distillery and Censored are in D East. See if I can get this to load. Oh, all right. Apparently I should have kept them in their zip files. Let's try this. Give me one moment here. This worked just fine the other day. We'll go to... All right. Now let's try this again. See if we can get it to work. There we go. All right. So the first game is going to be on Cursed Hollow. And let's see, make sure we've got everybody correct. Yeah, we got Zul'jin Distillery on the left, Censored on the right. So we've got some global potential from ultimately both teams at level 10 when Ledaster on the Morales gets medevac, possibly. You know what, this does look like a Juice Pirates with the Morales, with the Tyrael Sanctification, and then you've got the Greymane in there to get ultimately the siege damage, and then Anubarak Beetles for shots on the core. A little bit more standard comp, I guess, here for Censored, as they're looking for those picks between the Garrosh and Alarak. So let's go ahead and introduce our teams. For Zul'jin Distillery, we've got DeWitt on... I was going to say Imperius, but that is actually Tyrael. Cowboy Kyle on Anubarak, Ledaster on Morales, B-Fresh on Greymane, and Tychus is going to be played by Ankle Shot. For Censored, Geo going to be on the Dahaka, Ronan on Garrosh, Rip the Jacker on Orphea, Gallows is going to be played Orphea, and then Firefly on Alarak. And right at the beginning here, so we do have the Greymane siege damage along with the Beetles from Anubarak, so they're going to get working on this tower up in the top lane, and B-Fresh getting a little bit low thanks to the Dahaka damage as well. They're under half, but ultimately they are able to get one tower and another half of the next tower. So they're looking to, typically, like most often you would see this kind of strategy in the other lane as this is their safe lane, it's the boss lane for them, and they would be able to clear out this bottom fort quickly, get the boss, push harder. But instead, they're electing to go with the aggressive lane, and we'll see how that turns out for them. So, getting pings over here for Greymane and Morales to come in to the Bruiser camp, and safely soaking each of the lanes. Far enough back that their front line can't get to them, Their opponents can't get to them, and they can see that there are 3 in the middle, so top and bot are generally okay on their spacing. A little bit of damage there going on to DeWitt, so now he's got to be a little bit more relaxed about his positioning. So chat, there is no delay, well, no enforced delay. There's a minimum delay, so if you're out there, feel free to speak up, say hello. Tell us who you're here to watch. And so far, nothing too crazy. A little bit of an XP lead for Zul'jin Distillery, as now Greymane getting the siege camp in their top lane. And now the Bruiser camp in the mid lane gonna start getting some wall damage. With just Tyrael and Morales, it takes them a little while to get this siege damage there, but they are looking to maybe get that bottom turret. In fact, if they had been DPSing that turret, it would already be dead. But getting that Alarak combo onto Tyrael, but Ronan throwing over one of the Bruisers. And it looks like they do get both turrets in the mid lane. Looks like ankle shot here, losing a little bit of ground to Rip the Jacker, just being safe about soaking these, getting what he can as he's going to head up toward the tribute. And the tongue in on Greymane Bfresh, able to walk away from it. And it looks like Censored is going to have all 5 of their heroes here first, although Tychus is not that far behind. And Orphea has long cooldowns on those abilities. They're working to get that siege camp cleared and just stall out the channel. Ronan throws in Tychus, gets the stun, but ultimately he's gonna go ahead and just hop on out. But now it's Ronan that's in a bit of trouble, and that is first blood. But Cowboy Kyle, with almost no health, barely escapes as Greymane takes out Alarak. How dare you attack my beetle? And now the siege camp cleared in the top lane. Not a whole lot of pressure in the other lanes. You know, they were kept pretty well in the middle, so just fine there. And I was hoping to see somebody grab one of these camps. And it looks like they are going to. They're going to get started on this siege camp. The next tribute, of course, being in the top. So this siege camp will have the potential, anyways, to provide them value during that fight. If they hold it for a little bit of time, which they might not do. Let's see. Oh, it doesn't matter. Perfect timing. Unintentionally, it seems. Let's take a look at talents. Level 7's online for both teams here. Not a big surprise to see the stuns give armor talent for Tychus there. And a little bit of a bush gank here with just the Greymane, Tyrael, and Morales. Tyrael making sure he's right up in the face of Ronan to keep him from throwing somebody that doesn't have that disengage. And Cowboy Kyle able to channel the full time there with absolutely no interruptions. The throw onto Tyrael into the backline, but again, he just walks away. He uses that smite and gets that movement speed bonus. In the bot lane here, Ankle Shot able to prevent the Siege Giants from getting close enough to the wall to do any damage. So ultimately, at some point here in the near future, he will kill those Siege Giants. But not yet. And there they go. And now Rip the Jacker coming back on the Orphea into the bot lane, looking to catch up on this soak. They are a little bit behind. They're almost a full level behind now, but not only that, they're down 2 tributes. Not a position you want to be in if you're going against a Juice Pirates comp. Not a position you want to be in anyway, with level 10s not far away. And we see Dahaka is going to go ahead and burrow down right now. But damage going out onto Ronan gets the toss onto Tychus into the back line. No follow-up, so he's able to get out once again. The stall on the channel Ronin's still a little bit low, but a big 4-man Discordant Strike. Stun onto DeWitt, and that's going to be a dead Tyrael, followed up by Orphea, thanks to that trait value. Almost catches Ankle Shot in the Discord Strike on the flank there of his Lightning Saber. What do we got here, guys? 3v3. B-Fresh going in here, trying to get all the damage onto anybody that he can, but Ana's just keeping him nice and healthy. But B-Fresh is only about half health, and Anubrak has basically none. And Morales has plenty of energy, but now B-Fresh is a little bit far forward, I think. I think he should have just come back and made sure that, yeah, definitely. Should have just come back, made sure they secured this tribute. We do see the medevac, we do see the sanctification, but at this point it's now a 5 versus 4. The taunt goes out onto Anubrak, and there's the Eternal Feast onto both of the tanks. Flip onto DeWitt, but he's able to use Eldruins to get away, and I think that was a little bit of a problem there. If B-Fresh chases off the Ana, comes back, he may even get the kill onto Garrosh. And now with medevac, they're going to come up here and start working on the boss. They don't have Greymane, and they're not, I was going to say they're not really sniffing it out, but now they're paying attention anyways. Dahaka coming in from above, and there's the Counter-Strike going out, hits 3. Odin getting popped. Anubrak being put to sleep here as Geo getting the value out of his AoE circle there. Double stun, Ronin in a bit of problem here, and now 4-man Sanctification is gonna take Garrosh out of the fight. DeWitt in trouble though, as Dahaka trying to keep on him. Also Ankle Shot running away here with Odin, 25 armor keeping him alive. And ultimately he's going to make it out. All 5 do make it out. But now the tribute's coming out. Morales is in a bit of trouble now with that pull from the Alarak. Almost gets taken out by the Counter-Strike as well. But now Orphea in loads of trouble as the Beetle just staying on her, getting those stuns. Cocoon goes out onto Alarak. Geo trying to shred that as quickly as possible, but walk away from it. 4-man silence as Firefly trying to make it out, but not going to be successful. And now a much better circumstance to be in if you're Zul'jin Distillery here. Although Ankle Shot getting thrown over is not going to help that case. Tribute achieved, and now the first curse of the game going over to Zul'jin Distillery as they pop the medevac, and they're looking at this bottom keep here. And once again, they don't have Tychus, but they do have Greymane, and Greymane can shred this keep pretty quickly. The Hearth coming out from Alarak. Only so much he's gonna be able to do by himself, unless he gets, you know, some crazy kills here. We've got the Orphea. Here comes the Garrosh, and perhaps a little bit late. Maybe could have gotten a taunt to keep that Eternal Feast going, but that's okay. That's gonna be a keep, and who cares if it's a team wipe if you get all of the keep. And not only that, but this massive wave in the bottom is gonna go ahead and clear out the fort, which now exposes the keep. I'm sorry, the core. It exposes the core. Pings going out to the boss in the bot lane. I would have thought, yeah, they're gonna go to their top boss here. Ultimately, I mean, they've got a huge wave here in the bottom, which is gonna take out that wall for sure eventually here. And we do see Zul'jin Distillery going for the boss. Just not quite the same boss burn from Censored here. And they don't have Dahaka, which of course that contributes. But take a look at this boss. They started 20 seconds later, and they are not that far behind here. Medevac is available. So I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a medevac maybe even counter the boss up into the top lane. Or they may instead look to go at the core with all 5 and use that sanctification, get as much value out of the Greymane Inner Beast. They do have level 13s. And now we do see 4 of them on the boss here. Dahaka, of course, up in the top lane pushing. And here comes the medevac going straight behind it, trying to get as much value time as they can. Alarak sensing that that's where they're going, or maybe seeing, I don't remember if you can see the point. I think you can, actually. Eternal Feast going out is going to get negated by Sanctification, but so much damage coming in onto the team of Zul'jin Distillery. Here comes the boss. 2 dead already as Morales and the Beetle go away, but really their big burn, Be Fresh and Ankle Shot, still going 33%, 20%. Boss is still healthy, not healthy, but alive rather. And ultimately, with the boss and 1 Juice Pirates push, we have game 1 going over to Zul'jin Distillery. Taking a look at our stats here. One of those circumstances where looking at the stats doesn't always really help you because, yeah, exactly. Alarak, 50% more damage than Greymane on heroes, but ultimately no structures. Overall, you know, relatively few kills, although, you know, certainly much longer games have had fewer kills. We see the healing here fairly similar between the Ana Morales. XP contribution, again, you know, really more focused on the censored side than Zul'jin Distillery, but getting those early structures and then allowing them to push is exactly what they were looking for. So I imagine that some of the bans that they were looking at, you know, maybe a Zeratul, maybe a Falstad to kind of protect against the medevac push. Did I show talents? I did, didn't I? I don't think I did. Never mind. Here are the talents for all of the 13 levels that we had available there. So let's get set up here for game number 2 between Zul'jin Distillery and Censored. All right, so game number 2 is going to be on Infernal Shrines. Let's see if I can show you guys. Might be able to show you the. I can show you the outline. So I don't know if you can really see it though. So it's going to be a slight adjustment on where the players are going to be hanging out here. Is Ankle Shot going to be on Johanna? Of course, was just playing Tychus. Cowboy Kyle on Leoric instead of the Anubrak. Ledaster staying on that healing role. Be Fresh onto Raynor, so back a little bit, and then D-Win on Gul'dan. Whereas we see Geo sticking with the solo lane with Imperius. Ronan staying with tank ETC there. Firefly on Alarak. Same exact hero, I believe. Rip the Jacker on Jaina coming off of Orphea. And then Gallows going to be playing Ana. Did we have Gallows? We didn't have Gallows last game, did we? Am I crazy? Hold on a second. We did have Gallows. Why did I not? I don't know. Whatever. It's Sunday. So, alright. So game number 2 is going to be on Infernal Shrines. And let's see what happens. That is a little bright. Maybe I'll turn that off. All right, so King of Stormwind with his Leap of Faith. They don't really have any dive heroes, so it's really just going to be a counter to the potential for a blow up. Say, for example, the Alarak. Maybe even pull somebody out of the Mosh Pit, if we go with the Mosh Pit, or the Celestial Charge. But let's go ahead and introduce our teams. For the blue side, we've got Zul'jin Distillery. We've got Ledaster on Anduin. We've got Dewit on Gul'dan. Cowboy Kyle on the Leoric. Ankle Shot on Johanna. Be Fresh on Raynor. And for Censored, we've got Imperius on Geo on Imperius, Firefly on Alarak, Rip the Jacker on Jaina, Gallows on Ana, and Ronan on ETC. Alrighty then, take a look at these early talents. Alarak has not selected his talent. Last match he took the Chain Lightning quest. Not quest, he took, there's the, I guess that's not a, is it a quest? It is a quest at 1. Yeah, never mind. Right? I'm not crazy. Right? I don't know, who knows? But we'll see how this goes. So the power slide in onto Johanna with the Ana grenade to keep her from getting any healing out of that Anduin there. But Ronan getting all of the damage from that corruption. 5 stacks already for Gul'dan in the first 40 seconds of the game. And so we do see, it looks like so far, rotation action coming out from Zul'jin Distillery. A little bit slower on the side of Censored. And 1 minute time coming up here, so we may see some teams looking at getting maybe some of those siege camps. The Impalers getting buffed a bit so that they do now about 30% more base damage. Up in the top lane, we got Cowboy Kyle and Geo. Imperius and Leoric having an exciting, riveting matchup. But back here in the bot lane, as mentioned, we do see Zul'jin Distillery coming in onto the camp, and it looks like they know that they're here, as Censored does. So here they come with the 4-man invade, gets the silence onto Johanna. She's at half health with the healing grenade, preventing her from being able to heal, but Leap of Faith pulls her to safety. That was a good call with Raynor up here in the mid lane, especially since they're losing a little bit of soak up here. They are able to balance that out a bit by getting this camp. Not quite a kill. If they had gotten that kill, then they certainly would have won that. Up in the top lane, Imperius a little bit behind on the health side of things, certainly. But expect at level 4 to pick up that heal and make life a little bit easier for him. Raynor versus ETC in the mid lane, as it looks like both teams are heading to their mid siege camps. Zoom out a little bit more so we can try to see what's going on in the mid lane while these guys get their camps. And of course, the Jaina Blizzard and starting a little bit earlier gives them the slight advantage on timing. Top lane is going to be the Punisher, and this is a frozen Punisher, so this is definitely not one you want to lose if you can help it in the early game. Gul'dan over here heading to his siege camp, and nobody quite looking at the siege camp for Censored just yet. Instead, they're going to go ahead and rotate up, maybe get started on the point here. Or maybe even look for a gank onto the Leoric. But Wraithwalk, OP. And now they are not going to go to the control point. Instead, they're going to get in on this fight. ETC power slides onto the Johanna, knocks her back with the silence from Alarak. And once again, there goes the shield, but the Leap of Faith keeping her alive. So much damage going out onto the front line of Censored, though. Celestial Charge to keep Cowboy Kyle engaged here, as Alarak's going to get taken out by Raynor, and they cannot quite get enough damage to kill the Leoric. And ETC coming back in after having used his tap, popping that guitar solo, trying to keep the armor going and that self-healing as well. But ultimately, Raynor's going to finish that. But Jaina saying, hey, you're a little bit far forward, out of position, I'm going to take you out as well. So ultimately 1 for 1, surprisingly. And now we see the backs coming out from Censored. Zul'jin Distillery getting the skeletal defenders already to about half. And they do see that Imperius is in the mid lane, catching up on that soak, so that they can have level 7s here, pretty well equal in the level. A little bit of an overshoot onto the Johanna, knocking Johanna back into the group, but no real follow-up because Alarak already used his telekinesis there. And now, however, Ronan trying to isolate the Raynor, did get the silence onto Raynor, but not able to get the kill. So 29-1, and both solo laners there trying to continue soaking to get that XP advantage. Yeah, let's zoom out a little bit here. So it looks like we've got Zildjian Distillery now has 5 rotating up with Cowboy Kyle coming into the mix. Alarak pulling in the ETC power slide onto the Leoric as well, but Firefly trying to get out. Healing Grenade negates Cowboy Kyle there for a moment, keeping things on the low for him. And it looks like this first Punisher is going to go over to Zildjian Distillery. Frozen Punisher, so gonna shut down these structures. The leap over the wall onto ETC. And the only challenge with this, of course, is that now that it's shut down the tower, they're able to get pretty decent amount of damage out onto both the tower and the wall. But it looks like Ronan in a bit of trouble here as the Punisher just keeps him locked down. Punisher does go down now. Firefly getting pulled in by Johanna with that condemn, but Bfresh here just going crazy on the ETC, and it is going to be the full fort going down. First fort of the game going down for Zildjian Distillery. Checking in with our solo laners. Let's see how that XP is looking right here. 5462 to 6040, so a little bit in favor of Geo there with the Imperius. Not too surprising, as Geo spent that the entire time soaking lanes as opposed to Leo coming up, and looks like the danger ping's coming out, knowing that Leo is nearby, potentially looking to get in on that point. But instead, Zildjian Distillery coming back and taking the safe siege camp. And now, level 10's online for both. We do get the Entomb here. Nano Boost goes out onto Jaina, but the Fear as well. The Ring of Frost hits 2 or 3, I think, in there. And Geo trying to stay alive with the Cleaves. And it's going to be Gul'dan that goes down first here. And that might actually be all. Surprisingly, that looked like it could have been a lot worse, honestly, for both teams, potentially. And not the result you want to see when you're the 5v3 in that scenario. When Zildjian Distillery walks in and says, hey, we're going to take this fight. And Bfresh coming up here on to Ronan. Leoric heading up. Big wave of minions up in the top lane. And now Bfresh in a bit of trouble as he gets pulled back and silenced. Unfortunately, not quite close enough for ETC to catch up to. And the Counter-Strike missing Raynor, but once again, Telekinesis Silence combo coming out, keeping him low. And he will have to use his Healing Well there. So Leoric in the top lane, trying to catch up on that soak that we showed earlier. And now we may have a fight here as ETC going right in front of the Johanna there. A little bit far away to get any quick value out of a Mosh, but not impossible. There's that silence again onto the Raynor, so Light Bomb going out, hitting 2. ETC getting stunned again. There goes the Horrify onto Alarak in the back line. ETC does use that power slide to get a Mosh, but ultimately just gets taken out. And now Firefly pulling out Geo, not doing so, electing to use the Angelic Garments to keep himself healthy, try to get some value on the counter pressure there. And they do get the Johanna kill early right before the ETC as well. And so far, Firefly has been quite good at making sure that the damage is going out onto that Raynor, getting the combos both with the Telekinesis and the Discord Strike. Take a look at those talents again. So Echoed Corruption nearly completed for Gul'dan. Level 13's online for Censored first, as Zildjian Distillery is coming up to get their camp. And they'll now have additional pressure in the top lane on top of those catapults. Still only the 1 fort down in the game from the first Punisher. And once again, pulling in, this time on the Anduin, Counter-Strike no value. Big Fear hits all 4, and ETC in a bit of trouble is going to go down, followed up by Geo. It looks like maybe. And with that, Angelic Armaments will make it out. The Ring of Frost hits onto the Leoric, and Rip the Jacker is going to go down in the Entomb, but so is Cowboy Kyle, followed up by D with the big silence coming out onto Johanna and Bfresh. And there we go. Yes, he does, Mega Muffin. But it's a pretty short cooldown, so, you know, fair enough. They don't have any real big, you know, huge bombs like a Pyroblast or, you know, a Consume Souls or something like that. So, you know, make use of what you have to. So far, pretty equal. A little bit of advantage on the defenders here for Zul'jin Distillery. It's 4 versus 4 in the mid lane as Jaina's clearing out that siege camp that was picked up earlier. I'm sorry, the shaman camp rather. Root going out onto Ronan and getting a whole bunch of corruption stacks. But there goes the ETC power slide, is gonna get negated by the penetrating round from Raynor. Light Bomb going out hits Geo and Firefly, but here comes Ankle Shot pulling everybody together. There's the Horrify, and that's gonna be 2 additional kills. Rip the Jacker going down as well. Might get the kill onto Johanna, does. So a 4 for 1 in that engagement, and now Zul'jin Distillery looking to come over here and pick up the shaman camp on the aggressive side, and also keep this lane pressure going. So Ana soaking in the bot lane. Not ideal, but you don't have a whole lot of options at this point. Certainly can't stop the push in the top lane. Got 2 catapults pressure here as well. And there's the power slide in, trying to get onto the Anduin. They do have plenty of people here, but instead of going for the Anduin, they instead pull back Raynor and Gul'dan, and Anduin walking away is able to leap of faith at Gul'dan as well. There's the telekinesis back, only able to hit the silence onto Bfresh, but there's the Entomb slowing down the advance from Censored. Light Bomb going out is going to hit 3, but Gul'dan is going to go down thanks to the damage coming from Jaina, followed by Cowboy Kyle on that Leoric. And the rest of the team going to make it out. They do get a fort in the mid lane thanks to this Punisher, and of course they did get the top keep down to about half health as well. And ping's already coming out for the bot camp. Imperius here getting scouted out by Ankle Shot with those hammers. And this is a 3v5, so if they could catch somebody out, then it leads to a potential kill. But I don't know if that telekinesis was for the Ghost Leoric, if that was the intent, or if it was close enough to not quite get the Johanna. Let's see if they face check that bush. We see the danger pings, but Geo electing to just walk right on through it. So now it looks like Censored is going to come down. They expect they're going into this bottom camp, and there's the Celestial Charge onto the Johanna, getting silenced as well. The power slide in, stunning her. Ultimately is going to be able to pop the Iron Skin to get out. The camp picked up by Bfresh. Again, the ETC mosh pit interrupted nearly instantly, this time by the Blessed Shield. And now the Echoed Corruption going out. We get the Entomb onto both Jaina and Imperius. Geo going to the graveyard. Rip the Jacker, Rip City going to the graveyard. Followed by ETC and Ana as well. And Firefly over here trying to get whatever value he can, get some damage in on this team, but now Gul'dan coming back around and there's no wall to protect him. And what are we doing here, guys? Where's the value? We're looking at mid with the siege camp, and now with the siege camp, the tower's going straight into the team, so they're in a little bit of trouble there if they keep that going. Silence onto the Johanna. This could actually almost have been a kill. Very close. Okay, it is a kill. And there's the counter kill onto the Alarak. That's the moment you wish you had the counter strike. But it worked. he got the kill. And that's a pretty decent value kill. You get the Johanna. I mean, I don't know that it's worth to trade the Alarak, because Alarak provides so much value in your setup to help with, I mean, ultimately can help with the setup of the ETCs. Mosh. And here's Firefly telling me to stop telling him how to use Counter-Strike, clearly. 3 days later. All right. Zildjian Distillery now coming over. They've got the pressure in the bot lane. They've got pressure in the mid lane, and they're going to keep the pressure going with the top lane, getting the Shaman camp here. Censored doesn't have anything to grab here yet. There are no camps for them to take. All they can do is try to soak what they can and delay the pressure that is out on the map now and start making their way up to the... Is this a Mortar Punisher? Yeah, it is a Mortar Punisher. So... Zildjian Distillery has Johanna on her way, so they've got a little bit of a man advantage on the table, as Imperius is pretty far away right now. Would not be surprised to see an Entomb right there. Oh my goodness, how did that not come out? It would have been everybody minus ETC. It would have been absolutely disgusting. Yeah, I agree with you. They've got all the pressure, so they don't really have to do this. The Mortar Punisher is, you know, it's a late game Punisher, but it's not necessarily going to kill their core. They can just kind of stall this out a little bit, work on that level 20, and the Light Bomb going out on the Leoric, but unfortunately he didn't turn off his Wraith Walk, so it did not hit anybody. The Mosh Pit going out, this time not immediately interrupted, but does get feared away there. The Ring of Frost hits Leoric, and Ronan in danger, going down as well. There's the Counter-Strike. No kills out of that Counter-Strike, but does get the silence onto Johanna, but pays for it with his life. Rip the Jacker trying to get those slows out, but there comes the corruption onto Ana, onto Imperius. And now, with only Jaina to defend, this should be keep. And with 40 seconds on death timers, this could very well be game. And while we're at it, let's take a look at what our level 20 talents are. Is that Desperate Prayer? It is Desperate Prayer. Icon looks different when it's in the game. 60% on the core. Jaina trying to come in and make something happen. She's got everybody really close together, so working on those damage stats at least. And it is going to be game number 2 going over to Zildjian Distillery. Showing off once again those talents. Horrify, Rainer's Raider, Light Bomb, Blessed Shield, Entomb, Angelic Armaments, Mosh Pit, Counter-Strike, Ring of Frost, Nano Boost. And, you know, one of the keys to victory, I think, there with Zildjian Distillery is that they did a really good job of staying apart, so they didn't have all their Mosh counters get picked up at the same time. They almost always had an immediate interrupt for the Mosh. There was only one that went on for, call it, roughly 2 seconds, and ultimately they were able to get the Horrify out to stop it. They were aggressive on camps. They were able to keep the pressure going in every lane, pretty much. And much like Game 1, they were able to get those structures down and keep the pressure going throughout the entirety of the game. Stat-wise, let's take a quick look. This one I do expect to be a little bit more even, and it is. We've got the Jaina and Gul'dan, very similar in damage. Raynor and Alarak, very similar in damage. But ultimately, check out this. 18 kills to 9. Twice as many kills out of Zildjian Distillery on that. Healing-wise, again, very similar numbers. And a little bit of, looks like Imperius fell behind Leoric there as the game went on. So, all right then. So that, oh, I should have put up the, here, let me put that up right now. Match teams. Date the score. There we go. So, 2-0 in favor of Zildjian Distillery. Congratulations to them, continuing their winning record in Season 7. So now that we've done this, because I didn't want to show this until after the game was done, so that there wasn't any kind of potential spoilers for how the game would turn out. Let's take a look at those standings. Just as soon as they want to show up. There we go. So Zul'jin Distillery at the top of Division D with 9 points. Censored there in the middle with 3 points. We see quite a disparity in the teams here from top to bottom. House of Ches 6, 2 Calculated to Throw with 5, Church of Murky with 5. So it's still early in the season. Only 2 weeks with, of course, what is that, 3 flex matches available for these teams. So it looks like Zul'jin Distillery has gotten at least 1 of those done. So thank you very much for that, guys. Alrighty. So we'll be back in just a couple minutes. Give me about 5 minutes or so that I can get the next match set up. That's going to be between Full Meta Jacket and Luciodology, also out of Division D. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.